What's a sign that someone grew up poor? Story 1. When you can't finish a meal, pulling it apart to at least eat the meat because that's the expensive part. Or just force feeding yourself any meal you buy because you have to feel like you didn't waste. Being hypersensitive to any light left on, door left open, opening the fridge too much, running water too long, etc., because you're trained to minimize utilities. Never pouring more than one half a glass of any drink when it's someone else's house, except water, because you don't want to be seen as wasteful/gluttonous. Making weird snacks out of food that isn't supposed to be a snack, eating dry ramen noodles like chips, Kool-Aid with sugar in your finger to make your own fun dip, eating Kraft cheese slices/cold hot dogs/other things that are normally just a part of a meal. My partner and I are very comfortable now, but I still do all of the above. Sometimes my dinner is just a plate of leftover bits and bobs that you'd never think to put together, simply because their use-by date is coming up. But my partner will throw whole slices of pizza in the bin because he's full and it drives me up the wall. Never replacing anything unless there's absolutely no way to use the old thing anymore, and going to absurd lengths to keep something still usable. Story 2. Never buying clothing at full price. It just feels illegal. No one should do that, poor or not. Full-price clothes are always a rip-off. Now that I have my own money, I might buy things full price. High-quality items that I have a need for I'll just get because I know it will last. Also, my time has a lot of value to me. I could continue to shop stores looking for the best on sale shorts, or I go to one store and buy the shorts I like and be done shopping. Full-priced many things are a rip-off nowadays. Cars, clothes, countertop kitchen appliances, dishes, furniture, etc. Nearly everything can be found better quality used, especially furniture. They really made better furniture back in the day. That said, there are a few things I will absolutely pay full price for. One is sports outerwear, running/hiking/camping jackets. If you're buying a normal/fashion winter coat, it's not hard to make it warm. Just shove a crap ton of insulation in it and bam, warm. But for athletic jackets, the ones that are crazy thin but still manage to be warm. Yeah, I buy name brand ones of those because the crappy ones just never seem to work or are uncomfortable to wear for some reason. Specifically running jackets. I've had many over the years, and the ones I was most happy with were the most expensive ones. So now I just don't buy cheap when it comes to those. Actually, I suppose I do the same for sports base layer stuff. I guess I just do it with most sports clothing. Honestly, the base layer and the outer layer matter most. What you wear in between doesn't really matter that much. Can you tell I've lived in very cold places? That said, I will often buy them on clearance and keep them for years. That said, my two current favorite pieces of running gear are my pants and jacket I bought from Craft USA. Super high quality, they fit great, and I think they'll last effectively forever. Not super cheap though. Cheaper than Patagonia, sure, but that's not hard to do. Story 3. Odd hoarding behaviors of things you probably should have gotten rid of out of fear you won't be able to replace them easily. I keep a stack of boxes broken down because there's still this fear in the back of my mind that I'll have to move again at a moment's notice. I make a decent salary now and have lived where I am for nearly 7 years, but I still can't part with those boxes despite the space they take up. Under the bed, behind the chest of drawers. Yeah, I still have them. I have a box from our Christmas party at work under my desk, and one of the other ladies asked me today why I still had it. All I could say was, it's a good box, and you never know when you're gonna need it. They're always around when you don't need them, but the minute you have to move, unobtainium. Hoarding is very much a poor person's go-to psychosis. Just like the concept of minimalist living is the pipe dream of the well-off. I'd love to feel like I could exist in a minimalist space, the ability to get whatever you need when and as you need it instead of keeping every extra screw just in case you ever need one like it again. I have to constantly work against MG urge to hoard things. My husband didn't grow up poor and struggles to understand why it's hard for me. My mom grew up through the Depression and won't get rid of anything. She still has food in her pantry and freezer that are over a decade old. My brothers and I all did quite well in our careers and think she's crazy for keeping all this stuff, but every conversation turns into you never know when you'll need it. She is incredibly organized, so she never looks like a hoarder, but she will use any and everything she ever bought to max capacity. She was an amazing mom while we were growing up. I just wish she'd put herself first sometimes and get a luxury item for herself and get rid of some of the old stuff she's been keeping for decades. Story 4. Scanning the menu for the cheapest options possible when at a restaurant. It's okay, the soup is really enough for me. I was invited to go to Disney World with my best friend in high school. I did that for the first part of the week in every restaurant we went to, usually ordering a cheeseburger while my friend and his parents were ordering big steaks and all sorts of seafood. My friend's dad stopped me when we were walking back to the hotel and asked if I was a picky eater. I told him no. He asked why I kept ordering the same thing every time we went out. I said, well, that's what I usually order when I go out to eat, and didn't want to order anything more expensive because it wasn't my money. He kinda chuckled, assured me that he wasn't going to run out of money, and permanently banned me from ordering a cheeseburger when I was on a trip with them unless we went to somewhere that specialized in burgers. I spent the rest of that trip eating lobster, crab, and steak. He is a great guy all around. Both of my best friend's parents are really good people, and that was one of the best trips I got to go on as a kid. If you have kids, tell their teacher you'll cover kids that can't afford to go on field trips or other school outings. I did that, and the most it ever cost me was about $30 to cover 2 kids on the same trip. Most trips were in the $10 to $20 range. It was a trivial amount to me, but probably meant the world to the kids who got to go on the trip. The recipients were anonymous to me. That was in the 90s, so it might be a little more now. I did that for my daughter's classmates, the kid who couldn't afford the 6th grade trip. I paid his way. Interestingly enough, he was dating my daughter 5 years later. He never knew, and I've never told anyone till now. It's fun being that mom. My wife taught over 25 years at an elementary school that was one of the 5 poorest in one of the 10 largest cities in the U.S. She paid for dozens of those field trips and outings for her students and many others over the years. Money could be tight for us raising our own. I never told her that at least 2 of my paychecks every year went to her school secretary as anonymous donations for these kids' clothes, food, and supplies. Loving someone so much means you show love to the people they love, whether or not you know them. I hope I said that right. I mean, love grows more love, and we live, and help live. As a mom that has had their boys covered by anonymous donors when we were truly destitute, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I'm disabled, I'm blind, and since I became disabled, things have been hard. Really, really hard. I'm currently trying to figure out how to afford my eldest's cap and gown and senior class ring, things that I totally could pay for on my own at his age, because back then they hired at 13 to 14. Someone's already helped with his senior pictures, and he's so handsome, and my sisters offered to help with the rest, but I'd rather go hungry than accept further aid. Yes, I know, I'm too stubborn. Story 5. Difficulty throwing things away. But we might be able to reuse this. This plastic bag only has 2 small holes in it. It can still carry things larger than the holes. I still have clothing from high school and college, and I'm about to turn 40. They still fit those, so there isn't a chance and I'd part with them. And all that is coming back into style, so I guess I'm saving some money with my time capsule wardrobe. Good shirts become casual shirts. Casual shirts become pajamas. Pajamas become rags. I still have a shirt from middle school I wear to bed that has a small hole in it. It's my favorite night shirt and comfy as now. I'm 35. Or replacing things. It took me like a decade of adulthood to even start to break that habit. Had a stove that was missing all the handles, but it's fine, you can turn it on and off with pliers, so why replace it? I had an anxiety attack when my wife, then girlfriend, wanted to get a matching bed set shortly after we moved in together. We had functional, unmatching bedding, so getting new bedding seemed absurdly wasteful to me at the time. Story 6. For me, I have what I call poverty mentality. While I can afford new shoes and clothes, they have to be falling apart for me to replace. I will do something like go ahead and buy the new pair of shoes, but keep them stored until the current shoes become completely, 100% non-functional. I let my shoes get so bad one time that my friends offered to buy me a new pair. That made me feel bad. I have good friends. I had a friend once tell me you really need to buy new shoes, and I was really confused because the massive hole in the sole was not completely worn through to the bottom yet, so there was nothing wrong with them in my mind? Apparently that's not normal. Who knew? I'm always a little surprised when people talk about donating their old clothes. Apparently not everyone wears their clothes until they're literally falling apart. And then they're just for sleeping or workouts for a while longer. And then they become outdoor work, or painting, or deep cleaning clothes for the real nasty chores. I wear things that are 20 years old. I still get use out of them. Story 7. Realizing I wanted to have the house that all my kids' friends came over to hang out at because that wasn't really an option for big chunks of my childhood. I grew up poor and my husband grew up middle class. Whenever we have guests, I am constantly asking people if they got enough food. Is anyone still hungry? I can make something else. My husband will inquire about the quality of the food and if it is to everyone's liking. I think when you grow up poor, food is very much quantity over quality. My fiance's parents grew up poor and they are so generous now, whether it's with food or gifts. They stock up on fruit and cookies I like before we visit. If I finish my plate before them, they'll offer me food off of their plate. They always make sure I have enough. Poor people care about amount of food, middle care about nutrition, rich care about the experience. Quantity/quality/presentation. Story 7. Damn. I grew up middle class and definitely immediately think about quality, whether I'm out somewhere or I'm serving the food myself. My mom grew up with less money and definitely asks about having enough first. Never even made this connection. I'm in a place in my life now where my fridge has 2 ice makers and I feel so fancy. Ice for days. No ice trays. Having immense financial anxiety is the universal poor experience. Literally. I still get anxious when I spend money on literally anything, including bills and food, which are essentials. I have the money in my account for the next 3 months' worth of bills, aside from mortgage. My budget is still based on that money not being there and pushing out bills to align with incoming money. After next week, as long as no more surprises come up, I should have a breathing room amount. Inflation isn't helping though. I'm just so tired. In the US, I'd say poor dental history or teeth dental work is a luxury. Overall, I'd say many hoarders grew up poor because they are so afraid of not having something if they'll need it, so they keep everything. I didn't grow up super poor, more lower middle class. We were not housing or food insecure, but there wasn't much for extras. As far as dental work, it was basically emergency only. I always thought that people who could afford braces were pretty well off. I paid for my own as an adult and made sure that all of my kids had them. My older sister hasn't been so fortunate. She is missing a lot of teeth and has full bottom dentures. She would have to become very wealthy at this point in her life to overcome the damage that's already been done. To me, teeth are a status symbol in the US. People with straight, white teeth that are their own teeth are either lucky or they have been able to pay for it. My teeth are pretty messed up. I was able to get them fixed with Invisalign thankfully, but I never had real health insurance or dental care as an adult until I was in my late 30s. Even so, most of the damage was done and can't be fixed, even though they are straight now. I was horrified and embarrassed to finally go to a dentist. Answering their questions about how often I got cleanings and telling them that I couldn't remember. I only had dental care as a kid when my parents had me under their insurance, so I broke down and told them I live in the US, people don't have insurance here, so sorry, I can't tell you anything else. They understood and did their best, but the point is it hurts that having teeth that are not destroyed is a status symbol. I am learning to smile for the first time in my life, still look awkward AF, so at least I have that going for me.